to ask a question. Is the boss always available? In other words, are you closely supervised or generally supervised? You hardly ever see your boss. The boss gives you something to do and you just do it. And then financial impact, does your job make a difference in terms of the dollars around here? A lot of you would just put a line right through that if you don't have responsibility for budgets or any kind of expenditures, anything like that. But if you do have the responsibility to monitor a budget, or that's your actual budget to manage on behalf of the district, then tell us how many dollars are involved. And then, do you have any responsibility for other people? There's two things asked for here. Are you a direct supervisor? That is, do you evaluate people, discipline, and so forth? That's direct supervision. Some of you, over time, your jobs might have changed a bit so that you're now like a team leader or a crew leader, a lead person of some kind, which is more indirect. That means people that provide work direction and guidance to other people, but are not the official supervisor. So roles like that are important too, and important to identify on the job description. We okay on that one? And then there's some things that wind up actually on the job description that are really important to our classified HR folks who have to develop tests for jobs. So these knowledges and abilities, things like that come directly off the job description and wind up on a test somewhere for people for this kind of job. So we want to get the knowledge, the body of knowledge correct for your work. And we know what some of this would be, but some of you might have other things like terminology or software that would be important for us to know about that might be different here, any kind of machine or equipment operation. And the ability somebody has to have, like the ability to prepare something, the ability to plan something, the ability to speak before a group. And then also a requirement on the job descriptions that, these days is the education, training, and experience requirements involved. This would be for somebody coming in from the outside to work as your colleague. What would you suggest to the district would be a minimum requirement that they should have? So you know your job so well. What do you think about? What do you think about that? Should it be a high school education, or should it be college degree now? You might say things have changed quite a bit. My job is now moving into this area, and people should come in equipped knowing these kinds of things. And then, is there any requirement for a driver's license, a certification of any kind? Okay, so far, working conditions, there's three parts to that. The work environment, which means do you work outside most of the time? Do you work in a shop? Do you work inside and out combination? Do you work in a classroom environment, or is it a school office environment? And then what kind of physical demands are there on your job? This becomes real important and shows up on the job description these days. So does your job require you to have to climb a ladder, stand for long periods of time? Some of you might have to get up and down to work a counter. Then some of you might have to lift objects as a regular part of your job. And if you do have lifting as part of your job, let us know how many pounds somebody should have to lift to be able to do what you do. That gets real important to comply with ADA kinds of things that we're doing these days. And then other physical demands, like, does your job require a lot of walking, a lot of maybe running, a lot of crawling, bending, jumping, stooping, raising your arms over your shoulder? Anything that could be physically demanding is what we're asking for here. And again, what's the duty that's, or task that's associated with that? Then lastly, what about hazards on the job? Chemicals that you might be exposed to, working around machinery that have moving parts where you could be injured, working at heights. I've been told by all the other groups there are no dissatisfied or abusive individuals anywhere around here. But if you do think of somebody, don't put their names. Don't put their names.
That's usually just students.
Dissatisfied and abusive.
I've got scars now.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes people do put the students in like a special ed program or something like that.
Fumes, odors, and gases, special ed.
Just
No, I'm
saying.
not touching that one.
Just say it. Just say
Good
it.
try. And so, extreme weather conditions, do we have those in San Diego County? I don't know,
Were you here Sunday night?
but I guess.
Yeah.
That was terrible, wasn't it? I was in San Clemente. So other factors means if we've missed asking you something about your job, let us know what that would be. Sometimes people use that as an opportunity to talk about the program that they're assigned to or something like that. Then next would be the request for the interview, if you'd like to request that. You know, sometimes people check, no, I don't want to talk to you characters, and we ask you to come in anyway for some other reason. So don't be offended if we do that, please.
But checking that doesn't mean we'll necessarily be called in for an interview or just.
If you check yes, we'll make sure that you come in. Unless we make a mistake, it doesn't happen very often. So the expectation on your part would be to come in either individually or as a group. And then you sign off on it and off it goes. Folks, the best way to deal with this thing, this is not an easy thing to do. The best way to deal with this is you've got several days here now before you've got to give it to your boss. If you keep a notepad near where you work, and then I would say at the end of every day, just jot down some real quick notes, real rough notes to yourself. You know what's in here now, what we're looking for. Here's what I did, here's who I had contact with, and here's who got abusive. But if you do that, and you say, here's what I'm going to do tomorrow, and just jot those kind of things down. If you do that over a period of 7 or 8 days, then it's a lot easier to compile something to respond to this form than it is to just sit here cold and just start hallucinating.
Smart.
So that's a really good way to do it. Otherwise, it just takes a lot longer. And don't forget, you can also ask for time to do this during regular working hours and get together with groups. I think that makes things a lot easier. Otherwise, you can call this number up here for help. Do you have any idea who that is? No.
Let's find out. Let's find out.
Who is this that's going to help me on my
There's
form?
some fumes here. I need you.
Okay, so that's the story. Any questions about what we're doing or how we're doing it? It's real nice to work with you all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.